What if I told you that the next time you empty your pockets, a single dime could quietly be worth more than a weekend in a luxury mansion? Sounds impossible, right? After all, it's just 10 cents. Small, lightweight, ordinary. The kind of coin people drop on the ground and don't even bother picking up. But here's what most people don't understand. Some of these dimes were struck in an era when real silver flowed through America's economy, when money actually had metal value. Others were produced in modern times, in the billions. Yet only a microscopic number survived in nearly flawless condition. And then there are the rare mistakes. A tiny missing letter, a striking error, a detail so small you'd miss it without looking twice. That tiny detail can turn 10 cents into hundreds, sometimes thousands. And while one coin alone may not buy a mansion, imagine finding multiple rare examples. Imagine discovering a high-grade specimen. Imagine building a collection that serious collectors compete for. Suddenly, the dream doesn't feel so far away. Because luxury isn't always built from giant opportunities. Sometimes, it starts with the smallest coin in your pocket. So before you spend your next dime, pause. Look closely, because the path to something extraordinary might be hiding in plain sight. Welcome back to Old Coin Secrets. Coin number 1. 1955 Roosevelt Dime, a silver dime from America's golden decade. Imagine holding a small silver coin that once moved through the hands of Americans during one of the most confident decades in U.S. history. The year was 1955. Rock and roll was rising. Highways were expanding. Suburbs were growing rapidly. And America was stepping into a bold new era of prosperity. And quietly, in the middle of that economic growth, the U.S. Mint struck a simple 10-cent coin, the 1955 Roosevelt Dime. At the time, it was just change. Today, it represents history. And in the right condition, serious collector value. America in 1955, confidence and culture. 1955 was more than just another year. The post-war economy was booming. Consumer spending was rising. Television ownership exploded. Youth culture began reshaping society. The American dream was becoming reality for millions of families. And this dime circulated through diners, movie theaters, jukeboxes, and corner stores. It may have bought a milkshake. It may have paid for a bus ride. It may have been dropped into a church offering plate. Every coin carries invisible stories. The Roosevelt Dime design. The Roosevelt Dime was introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. Shortly after President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away, Roosevelt was closely associated with the Fight Against Polio and the March of Dimes campaign, making the dime a meaningful tribute. Obverse, front. Portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Liberty. In God We Trust. Date, 1955. Mint mark near the date. Reverse, back. Central torch, liberty. Olive branch, peace. Oak branch, strength. 1 dime. United States of America. Simple, balanced, patriotic. But what truly makes the 1955 dime important isn't just the design. It's the metal. 90% silver, real intrinsic value. Unlike modern dimes, the 1955 Roosevelt dime was struck in 90% silver, 10% copper, weight 2.5 grams. Silver content, approx. 0.0723 troy ounces. This means even in worn condition, the coin carries intrinsic silver value. Its minimum worth is tied to the silver market. When silver prices rise, so does the base value of this dime. That alone makes it different from modern pocket change. Mint locations and mintage. In 1955, Roosevelt dimes were struck at Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. Philadelphia produced around 12.8 million dimes. Denver produced around 13.9 million dimes. By comparison to other years, these numbers are relatively low. Lower mintage, higher long-term collector interest, especially in high grades. Collector value by condition. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where value can rise dramatically. Circulated grades. Good, $2, $4. Fine, $3, $6. Very fine, $5, $10. Extremely fine, $8, $15. Uncirculated, mint state. MS-60, MS-63, $15s, $40. MS-64, $40, $100. MS-65, $150, $300 plus. MS-66 and above, $500, $9,300 plus. Top certified examples in exceptional condition have sold for even more at auction. Why? Because finding a 1955 dime that survived untouched for nearly 70 years is extremely difficult. Most were used heavily. Silver coins circulated aggressively. Few were preserved. Full bands, The hidden premium. Serious collectors look for something called full bands, FB, on Roosevelt Dimes. On the reverse torch, there are horizontal bands. If those bands are fully separated and sharply defined, the coin receives the full bands designation from grading companies. This dramatically increases value. A regular MS-65 might be worth a few $100s. An MS-65 full bands? Possibly double or more. That tiny detail can transform the coin's price. Once again, small details create big money. Why collectors love the 1955. The 1955 Roosevelt Dime stands out because it's 90% silver. It has relatively low mintage. High-grade examples are scarce. Full bands coins are challenging to find. It represents 1950s prosperity. Collectors building complete Roosevelt sets must include it. And when collectors compete for the finest graded examples, auction prices climb quickly. Could it fund something big? Let's stay realistic. One circulated 1955 dime won't buy a luxury mansion. But imagine a full roll of uncirculated examples, or a high-grade full-band specimen, or a collection inherited from a family member. The combined value could be significant. And because it contains silver, its floor value is protected by the metal market. It's not just a collectible, it's tangible wealth. Silver's long-term potential. Silver has historically moved in cycles. When economic uncertainty rises, precious metals often gain attention. That means the intrinsic value of 1955 dimes can fluctuate upward over time. Collectors see them as both historical artifacts, precious metal assets, a powerful combination. The emotional side of silver coins. There's something different about holding a silver coin. It feels heavier. It sounds different when dropped. It carries weight, literally and historically. Unlike modern clad coins, a 1955 dime connects you to an era when American currency had intrinsic metal value. It represents trust in tangible assets, and that emotional connection increases desirability. The 1955 Roosevelt Dime is more than a 10-cent piece. It's a silver reminder of America's golden decade. It carries intrinsic value. It carries historical importance. It carries collector demand. Most people see 10 cents. Collectors see 90% silver, low mintage, full bands potential, auction competition, and sometimes they see opportunity. So the next time you come across a 1955 dime, don't ignore it. Check the mint mark. Check the condition. Look at the torch bands carefully. Because in the world of coin collecting, a small silver coin from 1955 can be worth far more than you think. Coin number 2, 1982p Roosevelt Dime. The dime everyone ignores, until they don't. It's one of the smallest coins in your pocket. Lightweight, common looking, almost invisible in a pile of change. Most people don't even bother checking their dimes. They drop them into jars, car cup holders, vending machines, or hand them over without a second thought. But what if one of those dimes, specifically from the year 1982, quietly carried a detail so small, yet so powerful, that collectors would pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars for it? Not because it's made of silver, not because it's ancient, but because of something that should be there, and sometimes isn't. This is the story of the 1982p Roosevelt Dime and the tiny, mint mark that changed everything. America in 1982, a nation under pressure. To understand this coin, you have to understand its era. The early 1980s were not easy years for America. Inflation had skyrocketed. Interest rates reached historic highs. The country was in a deep recession. Unemployment was rising. Yet despite economic challenges, the U.S. Mint continued producing millions of coins to keep commerce moving. In 1982, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 480 million Roosevelt dimes. On paper, that sounds incredibly common. And in truth, most of them are. But history shows us something interesting. Even in years of massive production, small mistakes can slip through. And sometimes those mistakes become treasures. The Roosevelt Dime legacy. The Roosevelt Dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away. Roosevelt was deeply associated with the March of Dimes campaign, which fought against polio, so placing him on the dime was symbolic and meaningful. Obverse, front. Portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Liberty. In God we trust. The date, 1982. Mint mark near the date. Reverse, back. A central torch, symbol of liberty. Olive branch, peace. Oak branch, strength. One dime. United States of America. It's a design millions recognize instantly. But in 1982, something changed. The importance of the P, mint mark. Before 1980, coins from the Philadelphia Mint typically did not carry a mint mark. But starting in 1980, Philadelphia began adding the letter P to most coins, including dimes. So by 1982, every dime struck in Philadelphia was supposed to have a small P mint mark located just above the date. That tiny letter became mandatory, which is exactly why its absence became such a big deal. The 1982 no P error, the game changer. During production in 1982, a small number of dimes were accidentally struck without the P mint mark. This wasn't wear. This wasn't damage. This was a genuine mint error. Somehow dies without the mint mark were used during production, and those coins entered circulation. At first, nobody noticed. They were spent like normal change. But when collectors eventually discovered that certain 1982 dimes had no mint mark, despite being required to, the coin world reacted immediately, because now something rare existed, and rarity creates value. Value comparison, ordinary versus extraordinary. Let's break it down clearly. Regular 1982 P dime. Circulated condition, face value, 10 cents. Light uncirculated, $1, $5. MS65 certified, $10, $40. MS67 high grade, 100 plus. Nice, but not life-changing. Now compare that to the error. 1982 no P Dime. Circulated examples, $50, $300. AU, uncirculated, $400, $1,000. High mint state grades, 2500 plums. Exceptional certified examples, even more at auction. All because of one missing letter. 10 cents turning into 4 figures. That's the power of a mint error. How to check your 1982 dime. Here's exactly what you do. Find a 1982 dime. Look closely above the date. Do you see a small P? If yes, it's normal. If there is no mint mark at all, now you pay attention. But be careful. Some worn coins may appear to have no mint mark because it faded. A genuine no P error will show. Smooth, undisturbed metal. No signs of grinding or damage. Clear original surfaces. If you believe you have one, professional authentication is strongly recommended because condition determines value. Composition and metal content. Unlike older dimes minted before 1965, the 1982 dime contains no silver. It is made of 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel. Weight, 2.27 grams. Its value comes purely from rarity and collector demand, not precious metal content, which makes it even more fascinating. It proves that value isn't always about gold or silver. Sometimes it's about scarcity. Why modern era coins matter. Some people assume only old 1800s coins are valuable. But modern mint errors often attract intense collector attention because they are easier to verify historically. Production records exist. Errors are clearly documented. They represent manufacturing mistakes in modern systems. The 1982 no P dime became famous precisely because it marked the first time a Philadelphia dime was missing a required mint mark. It wasn't just rare, it was historic. Collector psychology. Collectors love 3 things: rarity, story, condition. The 1982 no P dime checks all 3 boxes. It's rare. It has a clear, documented story. And high-grade examples are extremely difficult to find. Why? Because most were circulated heavily before anyone realized they were special. That means finding one in pristine condition is incredibly challenging. And when something is difficult to find in top condition, prices rise dramatically. Could it be life-changing? Let's stay realistic. A regular 1982 P dime will not buy you a luxury mansion, but discovering a certified no P error in high mint state could absolutely change your short-term finances. Imagine finding one in pocket change. Imagine submitting it for grading. Imagine it comes back MS66 or higher. Suddenly a 10-cent coin becomes a 4-figure asset. That's not fantasy. It has happened before, and it can happen again. The 1982 P Roosevelt Dime may look simple, but within that small silver-colored disc lies a story of economic struggle, mint production oversight, and collector excitement. Millions were made, millions were spent, millions were forgotten, but a tiny fraction, missing one small P, became legendary. So before you drop your next dime into a vending machine, pause, look closely, check above the date, because in the world of coin collecting, even an empty space can be worth a fortune. Coin number 3, 1997 P Roosevelt Dime. The modern dime nobody checks. It's not old. It's not silver. It doesn't look rare. In fact, the 1997 P Roosevelt Dime is the kind of coin most people wouldn't even think twice about. It's modern pocket change. You've probably spent dozens of them. You may even have one sitting in your car right now. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Even modern coins can become valuable, sometimes surprisingly valuable, when condition, rarity, and era varieties come together. And the 1997 dime is proof of that. America in 1997, a different era. 1997 was a completely different America. Compared to the 1950s or 1980s, the internet was expanding rapidly. The economy was strong. The stock market was booming. Technology companies were rising. It was a decade of growth and digital transformation. Coins like the 1997 dime were produced in massive numbers to keep everyday commerce flowing. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1.2 billion dimes that year. That's billion with a B. At first glance, that sounds like there's no chance of rarity. But here's where collectors think differently. Design overview. The 1997 Roosevelt Dime carries the same classic design introduced in 1946. Obverse, front. Portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Liberty. In God We Trust. Date, 1997. Mint mark, P. Reverse, back. Torch in the center. Olive branch, peace. Oak branch, strength. 1 dime. United States of America. The design hadn't changed, but something else had. New silver, pure clad composition. By 1997, dimes were no longer made of silver. The 1997 dime is composed of 91.67% copper, core, 8.33% nickel, outer layer. Weight, 2.27 grams. So unlike pre-1965 dimes, its value does not come from precious metal. Its value comes from something else entirely. Condition. And sometimes, errors. Regular value. Let's be honest. Most 1997 dimes in circulation are worth exactly 10 cents. Even uncirculated examples might only sell for $1, $3 in lower mint state, $5, $15 in MS65. So far, nothing exciting. But here's where things change. High-grade rarity, the hidden premium. When a coin is produced in the billions, you'd think perfect examples would be easy to find. Surprisingly, they're not. Why? Because most coins are thrown into circulation quickly, banged against other coins, stored in bulk, scratched and marked during handling. Finding a truly flawless 1997 dime, one with blazing luster, sharp strike, and no visible marks, is extremely difficult. And grading companies reward perfection heavily. High-grade examples: MS66, $20, $50, MS67, $100, $300, MS68, 1,000 plus, rare top population coins. Yes, a modern 10-cent coin, graded MS68, can sell for over $1,000. Not because it's old, not because it's silver, but because it's nearly perfect. Perfection creates scarcity. Scarcity creates demand. Demand creates value. Error varieties to look for. Modern coins also carry potential mint errors. Some reported 1997 dime errors include off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, double strikes, die cracks, die chips, improperly annealed planchets. Error coins can sell anywhere from $50 to several $100s, sometimes more depending on severity and eye appeal. The more dramatic and authentic the error, the higher the collector interest. Why collectors care about modern coins? Many beginners assume only 1800s coins are valuable, but modern coin collecting has grown dramatically. Why? Because registry set competition is intense. Collectors want the highest graded example possible. Population reports show how rare top grades truly are. Modern coins are affordable entry points. If only a few coins grade MS68, collectors compete aggressively for them, and auction prices climb. Population reports, the real story. Grading companies publish population reports. These reports show how many coins have been graded at each level. If thousands grade MS65, no big deal. But if only a handful grade MS68, suddenly you have true rarity. And rarity, even in modern coins, drives price upward. That's exactly what has happened with certain high-grade 1997 dimes. How to check your 1997 dime. If you want to search for value, here's what to do. Look for strong full luster, bright shine. Check for minimal contact marks. Examine Roosevelt's cheek and jawline, common wear areas. Inspect the torch bands for sharp detail. Search for visible errors or striking abnormalities. If your coin looks nearly flawless under magnification, it might be worth professional grading. Because in modern coins, condition is everything. Could it be life-changing? Let's stay realistic. Finding one MS-68 example won't buy a luxury mansion. But imagine submitting a roll and finding a top-grade coin, discovering a rare error worth hundreds, building a registry set that appreciates in value. Modern coins can surprise people, and sometimes those surprises come from the most ordinary change. The bigger lesson. The 1997 Roosevelt Dime teaches something powerful. Value isn't always about age. It isn't always about silver or gold. Sometimes it's about perfection. Sometimes it's about error. And sometimes it's about knowing what others overlook. Most people never inspect their dimes. Most people assume modern equals worthless. But collectors understand something different. In coin collecting, rarity can exist even in plain sight. Final reflection. The 1997 Roosevelt Dime may look ordinary. It may feel ordinary. But under the right conditions, in the right grade, it becomes something else entirely. A modern collectible, a registry competitor, a small coin with unexpected potential. So the next time you receive change, don't just toss your dimes aside. Take a closer look. Because sometimes, even a coin from the 1990s can carry a hidden premium that most people never notice.